Okay. Goodness, I see a lot of people already in the chat. This is awesome. Hello, thank you for being here on a Sunday. And wow, we already have plenty of questions to answer today, which I'm so happy. I'm happy you guys have questions. I know that especially for this time around, back to school looks completely different from what we're typically used to, even myself. So I'm happy to give you any pointers from what I've learned over the years with my own, schooling as well as with tutoring and even just life experience now. There's always so many different things that we can learn as we age, So I'm going to start off just answering some questions that I see in the very beginning. One of the first questions that I got early on, nice, was, this was a perfect question. So the question said, I'm not good in math. Will I need to be good in math to do well in chemistry? And this is such a great question because a lot of times the reason why students struggle with chemistry or prefer chemistry, don't prefer chemistry and they prefer like biology or other things like that, is because they're not so strong in math or they need a refresher. So a lot of times you're not gonna, remember every little thing that you learned ever. I mean, that's not realistic. So what I actually created, if you haven't seen just yet, I made a new playlist and I'm really excited about this playlist because it's specifically to answer that question. So for everyone who feels like my math is like, I'm rusty with my math, and I just need to know more. You forgot everything about math, basically. I did a playlist called The Math You'll Use in Chemistry. So I can drop a link right now in the chat just so you guys can check it out. I highly recommend it. It's for anyone taking either Chemistry 1 or 2. I do have several different things for Chemistry 2, like equilibrium problems. I know that's a favorite for people and a struggle for people. So I do have that there. Even simple things that we kind of don't even think about, like how to use your scientific calculator and to avoid any calculator mistakes. So make sure to check that out. I highly recommend it. Plus, it also comes with an extra course, which is free. So you have the regular videos. It's 15 videos on everything that you'll need to know for math and chemistry. And then there's also practice problems that go along with the entire course to just help you this entire semester. All right, so I just released that. So I hope that can help a lot of people actually here. I did see another question on equilibrium. So definitely check out that link that I mentioned. There is, I do have a video on that there in that playlist. So let's see what the next question is. I see a lot of people are taking organic chemistry. Let's see. Yeah. So a few questions are saying, organic chemistry. I think there was Ruby and Rosa were saying that they're taking organic chemistry. Okay. So I get the fear with it because when I first took organic chemistry, it doesn't help that everyone, all of your friends or classmates or even the professors are telling you how difficult this class is. And I'm going to tell you this. If you chose to take a science class or if you chose to be a science major, understand that it is going to be difficult. It's not an easy choice, going into these types of careers. It's difficult. It's not meant to be easy. We don't want, we want everyone to be well educated in those careers like doctors, dentists, and so on. So don't let that discourage you because I did. Honestly, I did. I was fearful in the beginning seeing that, this class is difficult. And I noticed that every single class that I progressed, it just got harder and harder, sure. But I didn't realize that my foundation and my understanding was getting stronger and I was getting smarter, in that content, in that information. So that's what I kind of want you to think of it that way. Don't be fearful of the information. Instead, be prepared and know that, yes, this is going to require me to study more. Definitely organic chemistry is going to require a lot more studying versus general chemistry. So what you'll see in organic chemistry, you're not going to see math. So if you don't like math, that's a good thing. Instead, I would say you're going to see a lot of structures. So get familiar with Lewis structures. I do have a playlist, actually. It's about, so I have two different playlists that I recommend checking out first. So the first playlist is going to be talking about all the general chemistry, like a general chemistry review for organic chemistry, I believe is what it's called. So it's everything that you need to have remembered or review from general chemistry to do well in organic chemistry. And the majority of that is going to be Lewis structures. So definitely refresh your memory on that. If you don't remember anything, that's literally why my channel exists, is so that you can refresh and see what you're going to need for the next class. I also have a few videos on organic chemistry. And as of right now, this year, I do not plan on making more. In the future, I do. But at this very moment, I do not plan on doing Ochem, just to kind of let you guys know. But I do have like those different playlists on organic chemistry. So I think that answers a lot of questions there. One more thing I do want to say about Ochem or organic chemistry is definitely know, and you'll learn this, I'm going to say towards like the middle of the semester, but definitely know the different types of reactions. So don't just memorize every single type of reaction. Actually understand what kind of kicks off the reaction, understand where electrons go and how bonds are being like formed and broken. And once you pay attention to those patterns, then it's going to be so much easier. So I really want to emphasize that. Don't memorize, actually understand the process of like the mechanisms and understand what's actually happening in those reactions. All right, so make sure to check that out. Let's see, what else do I have? I think we have a lot more people here as well. Oh, okay, this is cool. So I don't know how many people know, but actually, just thinking about it, this may be the first time you've seen my channel or have, or maybe you don't really know anything about me. Just to let you know, I have my bachelor's degree in chemistry. I was a chemistry major. And initially, I actually found chemistry really difficult, my first class. Unfortunately, I did not pass, and it was for a lot of reasons. I mean, I definitely wasn't understanding the material, and I wasn't putting in as much effort as I should have. And I can, it's hard to kind of look and reflect and see that, you know what, you were the problem, and it's hard to like get to that conclusion and understand I could have done this so differently. And like, I actually could have gotten an A, but instead it didn't work out that way and I had to learn the hard way. So that's kind of why, I wanted to obviously like create this channel and guide you guys and help you understand how simple it truly can be to pass this class, and it doesn't have to be that difficult and challenging. But something that you may not know is that I didn't always want to be on YouTube, or I didn't always want to teach. That wasn't something that I went to school to do. So I became a chemistry major because I was pursuing actually a career in dentistry. So I specifically wanted to be a dentist, a cosmetic dentist, and I was pursuing that for basically as long as I can remember. I want to say back in high school, actually. Early on, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I became a dental assistant in high school. I interned at basically every single dentist that would have me intern there. I checked out a bunch of different specialties, seeing which one I actually liked. And for anyone who wants to be a doctor, a dentist, anything in like the medical field, I highly recommend. And I know right now you can't. I understand that. Like, I'm speaking, I guess, in the future when things do normalize a bit, when you are able to actually go into, different clinics and practices. I highly recommend checking out and seeing if you actually do enjoy this. Like, I remember when I actually became a dental assistant because I wasn't sure, will I find that someone else's saliva on my hands disgusting, and it's like, it's those questions that you need to see. Like, am I fearful of blood? Like you don't know until you actually put yourself in front of everything and see on a day-to-day basis whether or not this is for you. So it actually was for me at the time, and I loved dentistry. I still think it's a beautiful career. I still think it's fascinating, but I ended up falling in love with teaching more, and I really enjoyed, being on YouTube and doing a lot more, like making my own products, and just I saw a bigger impact here. But to get back to what the question was asking, was how is your dentistry career path? So I kind of stated a little bit of it there. I'm going to say it's going to be dependent on what school you want to go to. So definitely do that research, understand what they focus on the most. So to give you perspective here, I interned at UCLA. That was a really awesome opportunity that I just volunteered for. Like, they have a volunteer program that you can just sign up for. I know right now, obviously not, but but when things were more normal, you could. And I know USC also has things like that. And I know I'm based in California, so that's kind of where, I knew of all of these opportunities. So I'd say double check with your state. What do you guys have? Or even asking your dentist, like, hey, can I intern here? Can I shadow you? It's a simple question that you can ask, and most they can say is no, and then you move on. You ask somebody else. So it's really just getting that job experience and understanding, like I said, is this something I can see myself doing on a day-to-day basis? What are the things that maybe I wouldn't like? Like maybe I'm not someone who would like surgery, but I prefer more of the lab sense, more of research. So that's something I would say to always be doing before you decide and set, this is my career, this is it, go all in. And then you're in dental or medical school seeing that, this isn't for me. And I've spent so much money and time, on this. So that's something that I would definitely recommend to do. Besides looking at the schools, and this is for anyone wanting to go to dental or medical school, let me tell you, I have done so much research and gone to so many conferences, and I've always been a huge planner, and like organization has always been like key for me. So I know a lot about the process. I have multiple friends I have one friend who's a doctor, and like she went to school for audiology. I have another friend who's going to get her PhD, so I know a bit about like grad school, either through my friends or even through my own experiences. And besides grades, besides, test scores, of course, that's what gets you, it doesn't get you seen. It's what gets you to at least fit in with everybody else. Unfortunately, that's the reality. It is extremely competitive, and I think, honestly, I think too competitive at times, but you do need something to set you apart. And I can't tell you what that necessarily is. I can think about just go to a lot of different job shadowing, intern what you can. If you could become a dental assistant or a medical assistant or nurse beforehand, that could set you apart. If you wanted to minor in psychology or minor in something else, it's just making yourself stand out and be different. That's a huge part of it. And I think that'll help a lot of students just with that process. Let's see. I have another question of what's the difference between Chemistry 1 and Chemistry 2? So great question. So typically for college, you're going to have 2 different semesters for general chemistry. So general chemistry 1 is typically more of the basics. So that's starting off the foundation of chemistry. So you're going to see topics like, significant figures, stoichiometry, gas laws, and what else? Thermochemistry, things like that. And then general chemistry 2 is when it gets a bit more advanced. So we get into more of like kinetics and equilibrium, and there's a lot of math, I will tell you that, for chemistry 2. So there's more math in chemistry 2 than there is in general chemistry 1. And once again, it just has to do with you knowing the basics. You have to learn how to walk before you can run sort of situation, where knowing the basics for general chemistry 1, and then you'll move on to general chemistry 2, which does step up a bit. But if you have a good foundation, you'll do fine. That's kind of the main things. It's really just the topics. And let me see what other questions we have. Wow. Okay. You guys have a lot of people here. I'm happy. Let's see. What's a good resource for extra practice problems? And is there any textbooks, chem books you recommend? Yeah. So besides, your own textbook, if you're required to have a textbook, of course, that is always nice to see or to use. But sometimes that's not always what's going to be on your exam. So I actually like to use, besides I'd say my videos, of course, that I use that as a way to understand the topic. I actually would use something called Chegg. It's called Chegg Study. And I liked just seeing, besides, homework questions, and sure, it can help you understand your homework, and like it has step-by-step solutions. Besides that, I actually used it as like this kind of huge practice problem database, and it's nice when you actually, like, you don't just have the answer, you actually have the step-by-step solution, so you can see where you went wrong, or if you don't know where to start, like, it's just really helpful. So that's how I used it back when I was in college. I not only used it for help with mastering chemistry or sapling, or any other online homework that they give you, and I also used it, as I said, as practice problems. So I would say that's a great resource. I can put a link in the chat. I really did. Just a heads up, I am a partner of Chegg Study, since I personally used it in college and I really liked it. And I still really like it today. So there's that. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay. What topics do people usually start off with chemistry? Great question. So the first thing that you're going to talk about, it's more of like general stuff. So you're typically going to get into like the classification of matter, and it's more definitions in the very beginning. So it's nothing too scary, I'd say. Nothing, flashcards can't help you with. But the thing that I'd say gets people for the first exam is knowing unit conversions. So things like the metric system and understanding how to convert different units, how to go from centimeters to meters, or, things like that, as well as dimensional analysis. And once again, it's just unit conversion. So the setup of that, and because we kind of like immediately get to math, often scares students away, and it shouldn't, because I do have so many resources for you guys. So like I said, I just made a new playlist. It's called The Math You'll Use in Chemistry, and the first few, actually I'd say, the majority of that, like the first few videos, is what you'll see in the very beginning. And then I also attached practice problems to that playlist. It's a separate course that you can take for free. So I highly recommend anyone who's just starting off general chemistry, whether you're in high school or in college, to watch that. Like, that's seriously perfect for you and perfect timing. And that's going to help you succeed on your first exam, because a lot of times students think that, what, this class isn't too difficult, it's fine. And then it just all kind of gets thrown at you all at once. And then you're like, oh, okay, this is what it really is. And then you don't do too well on your first exam. I've seen that so many times, so many years. I've just seen that happen, where students will either not pass their first exam or not do as strongly as they could have. And it's just because, one, you don't necessarily know how your teacher, tests and grades. Of course, that's one of them. But one way to prevent that is just being extremely prepared. And I highly recommend everyone, like, get ahead. Like, we, thankfully, since there's YouTube and the internet and so many different resources out there, you guys have everything you need, to get ahead. So knowing, even your syllabus will tell you what you need to do to get ahead and to stay ahead, and you won't fall, you won't fall behind. And that's honestly how you do poorly in this class. If you aren't keeping up with the material, if you aren't studying and you aren't remembering this, then you're not going to do well. But I don't want that for you guys, of course. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay, let's see. And feel free to keep asking me questions. I'm just going through them. Do you have any tips on how to balance work and chemistry class? I still struggle with this. Yeah. Okay, so definitely. Time management is a huge thing, and you're going to see this for the rest of your life. I'm even someone who I'm going to constantly need to change my systems and my time management, because sometimes you want to do something differently, or maybe a bad habit that you may have. Ultimately, how I did it, I guess you can say, because when I was in college, at one point I had 3 different jobs, and I was still a full-time student, and it was difficult. It was really difficult. How I made it was just blocking out times. So forcing myself to study, even if I was exhausted, and seeing what times are the best for you. So for me, the mornings were the best time to study versus the night. I'm not someone who can, just be fully there at night. I'm asleep. I'm falling asleep at a certain time, but in the morning I feel like it's a fresh new day. There's more hope in the day because I have a brand new start, and I feel good when I start my day right with whether it was studying or, working or whatnot. But I would say that. So find what time of the day you're most alert and block some time. It doesn't have to be like 5 hours. It could be maybe even 1 hour. But as long as you're fully concentrating and fully there, I highly recommend that. Doing that every day. So that's going to be the difference. Even on weekdays, or weekends, I would do that. So I would block out time. It would typically be the same time every single day if I could. And then I would say right now for everybody, since homeschool is kind of what we all are forced to do now, separating your where you sleep from where you study is extremely important. And I know that can be difficult. Whether it's you're going to study, I don't know, in the living room or in the kitchen or outside or even just in one corner of your room, having that separation and understanding, I only sit here to study at a certain time. Having that kind of change in your environment is good for you. So that can definitely help you as well if you're losing motivation or if you're just bored. I think that's a huge thing that we don't talk about is this can be boring. And I know that's shocking to tell you that, but studying isn't always the most fun thing at all. We have to do difficult things to get a difficult career. Being a medical professional isn't easy, and all of these courses are not easy. And if you're feeling like this is a challenge, this is a struggle, that's because it is. It's completely true. You're going to have moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so bored. Get me out of here. I want to leave, and that's normal to feel that way. And I would say at that point, take a break. Do something that you really enjoy and then come back and force yourself to do that, And I think that I read a book recently about habits, and it said something about falling in love with boredom. And that was completely true. I even today, when I'm working, I'm like, okay, I know all of this, sure, but I feel like it's repetitive, or I feel like I'm kind of bored right now, what am I to do? But at times you just need to fall in love with the boredom, whatever that may be. A change of scenery may help you. A cup of coffee may help you. I want you guys to think of it that way. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay. Let me just keep scrolling and seeing what you guys are asking. Okay, cool. I answered this already. Any tips for effectively studying at home? Yeah, sleep is a huge part of it. Let's see. What else do we have? Is taking AP chemistry just one semester possible? That, I would have to check with your school. That I'm not sure of. Yeah, that I'm not sure of. Let's see. Okay, I had someone ask, let's see what else we have actually. What do you have planned for upcoming videos? Your channel got me through last semester. Oh, thank you. I'm glad. Congratulations. So I would say right now I just posted something to kind of kick off the semester, as I mentioned in the beginning, was the Math You'll Use in Chemistry playlist. It's for anyone taking chemistry 1 or 2, high school chemistry, AP chemistry, even if you're actually preparing for the MCAT, DAT, any of those exams. I highly recommend checking it out. It's a great refresher for both math and for how you're actually going to use that math in chemistry. And I'll actually teach you, let's say I'll teach you how to use the quadratic formula. And then I'll teach you how to actually use it in chemistry. So it's a good way to just refresh everything. Okay, let's see. Let me see what else I have for you, or what else you guys are asking. Tips for starting organic chemistry. Yes. So for Ochem, I highly recommend getting familiar with Lewis structures. That's going to be number 1. So knowing how to build a structure, understanding the electrons, the valence electrons, refreshing all of your memory on that, hybridization, that. And I do have a playlist actually to help you out. So don't worry, you're not starting from scratch. I've made this easy for you guys, as you probably, are getting a feel for my channel now. The playlist is called the general chemistry review for organic chemistry. So it's basically going over all of the general chemistry, topics you should remember. And I don't even expect you to remember. That's why I made a whole playlist for you to, to help you refresh your memory on that. I would say there's that. There's also, let's see. You're also going to get into something known as isomers. So I would say I do actually have a playlist on some organic chemistry topics. I would actually spend some time getting familiar with that, understanding more of the language and knowing what each little symbol means, because it does feel like a foreign language at times when you're seeing this, especially naming. So naming never goes away, guys. You've probably seen, like naming ionic compounds, naming compounds in general. That's going to continue on as you progress in really any chemistry class. It's just going to be maybe like a little bit different with the naming styles. So organic chemistry has a completely new sort of naming system. And I do have a couple of videos explaining that as well. So I recommend checking out the playlist that I have and watching those videos to get you prepared and ahead. So let's see. Okay. And then besides that, I would say because I did also get a question on any advice for taking Ochem 2. Just Ochem in general, I'm going to tell you, understand every single part of a reaction, understand why a bond will break and then reform with something else, understanding what the difference between a nucleophile and electrophile, all of these different things are, and knowing the different types of reactions. So, and this may sound foreign to you guys right now, but you'll get into it, like SN1, SN2, and so on, elimination reactions, all of that, understanding how everything kind of works instead of memorizing that, okay, this goes to this, boom, I'm good, but on an exam, you're going to forget it, unfortunately, or you're not actually going to be able to answer a question that might be different from what you memorized. So I highly recommend just actually, digging deeper there and understanding everything that actually happens in a reaction, plus anything that you might not have understood in organic chemistry 1. So refreshing that and thinking back, what didn't I understand? Is that going to be important for Ochem 2? Most likely it will. Let's see. And then tips for starting. Oh, I see. Is it possible to take Gen Chem 2 and Ochem 1 at the same time? One, that's going to be based on your school, so you would have to petition that. If your school allows you to do that, which I have seen some schools say yes to it, depending on what program you're in. Is it possible? Yeah, it is. It is possible. So you're not going to use too many things from Gen Chem 2 for Ochem. Instead, you're going to use more of Gen Chem 1 things for Ochem, like Lewis structures. The only thing that you're going to see from Gen Chem 2 is like acids and bases. And like the strengths of acids, but that can be learned in Ochem. So I do think it's possible. I just want you to understand that it's going to take a lot, and I mean a lot of studying and a lot of focus, and that should be like a full-time job. That's what you focus on the most. If you're taking more science classes other than those two, it will be challenging. So something to kind of let you guys, know is that if you're taking, I would say, even 3 science classes, know that that's going to be a really tough semester, especially if you don't feel confident in those topics. Like if you're taking, let's say, maybe you're taking physics and you feel like, okay, I'm good with physics, that's easy for me, but for chemistry, I don't feel comfortable there. Well, okay, then maybe 2 classes that you're not too strong on, taking those 2 is okay. Just know that you probably shouldn't be working, or I want you to treat that as a full-time job, just because how much attention each class needs, with studying, with assignments and all of that, especially college courses. Okay, let's see. And then, what supplies do you recommend taking Gen Chem 2? Notebooks, right? Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I actually have a lot of resources for Gen Chem 1 and Gen Chem 2. So if you guys aren't familiar with what I actually have created in the past, I've created digital notes. So I have chemistry notes. I want you to think of them as like how-to guides that explain explain how to basically answer common test questions for that specific topic. Like I have one on stoichiometry, which is like number one thing to know for Gen Chem 1 and even Gen Chem 2. I'll explain how to go from, grams to grams of another compound. And I actually, for that one, I explain how to go from every little thing imaginable. And it shows you the steps. So it shows you how to set up the problems, what you should really focus on. And something that I think was difficult for me, and this is why I didn't do so well in the beginning in chemistry, was I didn't understand my book. I felt like it was meant for another chemist. It didn't feel like a beginner level. And I got lost. I got more confused reading the book than I should have, and I kind of wish that you kind of just wish that they got to the point, A lot of times, like, I get that you guys are taking other classes, you have other responsibilities, or it's just too much work, I get that. Why can't it be easier and just get straight to the point? What do I need to know? What's going to be on the exam? Like, that's it. That's honestly the mentality that you feel. And that's why I created my notes. It was because I needed that back in college. And I wanted to create something that got straight to the point and told you, hey, this is the most important things to know from this topic. Let's not waste any time. And it's been working for a lot of students, reading the reviews and seeing that it's helping. And I highly recommend that for you guys if you're struggling or, don't have much time, or you really just want a good resource to help you out and not feel like you're, lost in the class. So I think I already put a link on that. And I do have that available for you guys. I also have flashcards. So that I'm really proud of, that product that I made. Besides it being my first physical product, I'm really happy with it because it's exactly, once again, what I wish I would have had, and exactly what I wish you guys have in your classrooms. So you need so much practice for naming compounds. Like I said, this is something that you're going to need to know throughout, right? And it's kind of like the language of chemistry. So it's going to be really difficult understanding the word problems on your exams if you don't speak the language of chemistry, which is basically naming compounds. So if you guys want to check that out, by the way, it is only available in the United States right now due to shipping. But I can drop the link for my naming compounds flashcards. It comes with a periodic table with every single one of the charges for each element, everything that you need to know, all the different types of naming compounds, and over 100 common test questions there. So if you practice with that, you'll do fine on the exam. You'll do more than fine on the exam. Cool. Let's see. Anything else? And actually, someone said what they're majoring. What is everybody majoring in? And what are your goals? What are you trying to get into? What type of grad school do you want to get into if that's your goal? Let's see. Someone asked, what's the difference between med school and grad school? Nothing. They're both graduate level programs. So I would say like grad school just means that you're continuing on with your education after getting your bachelor's degree. That's essentially what grad school is kind of talking about, whether it's your master's or it's, getting straight to a doctorate program. That could be medical school, dental school, audiology, any sort of form of doctor. That's the difference. You just don't necessarily hear them say grad school, even though med school is the same as grad school. Okay, so let's see what else. And then suggestions for remembering polyatomic ions. Yes, my flashcards actually have them all. So I put all of the most common and even some that professors just like to throw in there just to trip you up. I put those all in my flashcards for you guys to memorize. It makes it so much easier to do that. So I highly recommend doing that, checking those out. And then let's see. Interesting. Okay. So several people want to be dentists. I'm just reading your guys' different majors. So someone wants to be a surgeon. Nice. Let's see. Biochemistry. Nice. Okay, I see a lot of biochemistry. I applaud you guys. That is not an easy major. I can tell you that. Zoology, oh, cool. Very cool. Planning on continuing, yeah, to be a veterinarian. Nice. Neurobiologist. Okay, you guys are impressive. Dental hygiene, nice. Another dentistry, yeah. Pharmacist. Dang, okay. Yeah. Biochem, physical therapy. Dude, you guys are awesome. Okay. So I'm going to know just so many different doctors after this, right? I want to hear all of your success stories after this. This is so cool. I'm glad you guys are all here. Feel free to ask me questions. Let me go back to this. Feel free to ask me questions on that. I do know a lot about the process, and I understand how difficult it was, to even, I went so far as to, I filled out my entire application for dental school. I got all of my letters. I got everything that I needed. I took the DAT, all of that. And then I didn't hit send. So, yeah. And that was my own battle there. I can tell you it was because I had already started this channel and I already had started, teaching. And I had to think, did I want to do dentistry or did I want to teach? And for myself, I decided on that I can make a bigger impact here, and this is where I'm needed. But I applaud every single one of you guys for wanting to pursue, grad school and all of that. It's not easy. I completely understand that. Dang, okay, I see a lot of dentists. I feel like I should talk more about everything that you should do to be a dentist. I know a lot. Someone asked, what'd you get on the DAT? Okay, I took it so, I honestly don't remember. This is sad, but I honestly don't remember. It wasn't an amazing score because I was working too many jobs at the time and I didn't spend as much time as I should have on the DAT. And I was rusty on, what was it? There's a section called perceptual ability, and I'd say that was my weakest one. So that was more of you had to think about spatial arrangements and seeing how, it was really strange, how you can rotate something and how it's going to fit, somewhere else. And it makes sense for dentistry, it does, but I had never practiced that. So when I was trying to do that, I would say that was my weakest area. I was strong, of course, in chemistry and in the math section, but that was my weakest point. And I was going to retake it either way. Yeah, I was going to retake it either way, so it didn't matter. But yeah, I don't think it was the strongest score at that time because I was doing way too much. Yeah. And by the way, that's something for everyone who wants to take the MCAT or the DAT or any other, exam. If you don't do amazing on the first try, you're still allowed to take it again. Don't let that disappoint you. Instead, I want you to think of it as, okay, I at least know what my baseline is. How can I improve? What can I, do next time? So that's something to just keep in mind, understand where are my weak areas and let's try this again. It's a process for sure. Let's see, how much math was on the DAT? I have to honestly remember that, but it wasn't a lot. I'd say that they do have different sections. So look into taking maybe a DAT practice exam. They have so many online. They have, some that you can just check out for free. And that's more realistic than what I can tell you because I haven't taken the DAT. I didn't take it last year or anything like that. It's been some time since I took it. So I would say that they always have different sections. So you are going to see, an amount of math, a certain amount of chemistry in every single topic. Yeah. You can't get away from it, unfortunately. Let's see. What else do we have? When my next video is, I posted 15 videos, guys. Give me a second to breathe. I posted 15 videos, y'all. Watch that. I will be posting more, don't worry, but, we're just starting out. Tips for self-studying chemistry. Watch my videos. No, more than that, of course. So besides watching videos on YouTube and all of that, I would say testing yourself. So a huge thing with studying is making sure that you're actually retaining the information. And I know that sounds ridiculously easy, like no duh, but I want you to see that it's really about the practice. It is putting yourself in that situation. Like if you have test anxiety per se, I actually used to, and I used to blank out on exams. I used to fear being in that setting, and I would study so much, and then I'd go on an exam and just freeze. And of course, the timing didn't help. I had pretty tough professors, I'll tell you that. But I would say get prepared, ahead of time, meaning timing yourself. So take a practice exam that's actually timed, and putting yourself in that situation, and you're literally not only practicing chemistry, but you're practicing and working on your skills of how to take a test. So if you can improve, your own abilities to take any test, that's going to help you with so many different things. Putting yourself in that kind of uncomfortable environment is going to end up making you feel more comfortable once you do get into a testing environment. Yeah. So that's something just in general for tests that I recommend doing. Do you think it's possible to take Gen Chem 1 while taking grad school classes? Again, I guess it depends on, you're getting your master's in public health. Yeah. It's possible. I definitely think a lot of these things are possible. It's going to be based off of your schedule and how much time you can, focus on these classes. So for Gen Chem 1, I would say even if you're studying an hour every single day, that would be enough to be able to pass the class. If you want to get an A in that specific class, I would say at least 2 to 3 hours every day, just spending time of actually watching videos, of then taking a practice exam or doing practice problems, and then revisiting that material. So a lot of this is students feel that I'm going to study one topic. After I study that, I take a test, I mastered it, and then I don't look back at it. And instead, what it should be is so much repetition. So the next day, you should actually test yourself again and see if you actually retain that information. So you should constantly test yourself and see that, yes, I actually know, everything about this topic. And once again, you can test yourself just by doing the practice problems in the back of the book, or, watching a video and not actually seeing the answer and just pausing it and trying the question out in the very beginning. And I also mentioned, guys, that I do have my chemistry notes to help you guys out. You could either use it as a how-to guide, and you can see every single step, or you could also use it as just a way to get more practice problems and hide the answers and try out the practice problem first, and then you get a step-by-step solution. There's several different ways that you can do that. You could apply that. So yes, I do think it's possible. It's just going to be dependent on time management and how much you actually spend looking at the class. For everyone watching, please get ahead in this class. Like every single science class, that is the secret. If you want a secret to learning, that's the secret. That's what I figured out, was if you get ahead in class, you're literally spending more time with the material, which, think of it this way, if you're trying to master any skill, and if you're trying to master this in 2 weeks versus 8 weeks, then who's going to be better, or how much time are you going to be, how are you going to be so much better, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to be that great in 2 weeks. I'm going to be better after 8 weeks. So the more time you have with that material, the better you're going to do, and the more you're going to retain it. That's really the concept. For college, in your opinion, is it easier to be on iPad for digital notes? Yeah. So, man, I like both. So I liked, kind of like looking back at my own preference. I used to take notes on my computer back in class. I've always felt like I couldn't write fast enough, like using a pen and paper. And I felt like I was being so rushed in class, like just trying to jot down everything that my professor was saying. And I would never succeed, and instead my hand would just hurt. So that's why I switched to my computer. And I actually, for some classes that were really difficult, I used to ask the professor if it was okay if I can record. Some of them are okay with it, others aren't. But if that's not something you feel comfortable doing, I totally understand. But but I would just use my computer and type everything out. I know with, I mean, everything's on Zoom now, but I would say I prefer more of the digital side just because of that reason. I also preferred that it's organized. I never felt like I lost my notes. But if you're someone who prefers, using a paper and pen, totally get it. I prefer doing that with my practice problems. Like at times, I sometimes prefer to just use a pen and paper for that. Or if, again, you prefer to use your digital iPad for kind of like a whiteboard, that's something too. But me, I prefer digital. Let's see. Let me see what other questions came in. Do I have a digital version of the flashcards? I think I answered that, but I have a physical version of the flashcards that available, but I also have notes on it, so it's not the same thing, but it's similar. I do have a naming compounds and acids notes that you can get for that, and that'll still help you. Let's see. Next question. Sassy Jazzy, I like that, says, what would you say would be a good major for dentistry? I'm in the middle of biology and chemistry. All right, I love this question. Okay, I love this question. Thank you for asking this. So I want to debunk something here. Everyone, I've gotten this question before, and I even felt the same way when I was going into college. Choosing a major, I'm like, okay, what's going to get me noticed? Like, what's the best major to be a dentist or a doctor or whatnot? And I'm going to tell you this, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. As long as you, one, check all of the boxes per se, meaning you are taking all of the prerequisites that they require, and you do well in those classes, of course. You take, the DAT, MCAT, whatever test you need. You do what is required of you to apply. And if you're actually a different major, it could set you apart. So if you do have an interest of, let's say, I don't know, psychology, if you are curious about that and you're like, you know what, I don't know if I'm someone who would be a biochemistry major or chemistry major or so on, but I'd really like psychology, then you could do psychology and then just on the side take all of the, chemistry and biology classes and whatever else is necessary to be a dentist or doctor. So there's that route. Or if you are someone who's like, you know what, I do enjoy science, or I would like to be a science major, I'm going to be a biology major, then pursue that. There's no right or wrong answer there. So to give you perspective, kind of why I chose chemistry, and I actually started off as a biochemistry major. I quickly learned I was not that great with biology, and almost immediately after taking my biology class, I'm like, no, I don't think this is for me. So I changed to chemistry, and that was more because I was good at math. So at that time I was a math tutor, and that came a lot easier. So chemistry was easier in that sense, that I liked that there was numbers involved, versus biology was really conceptual, and that was trickier for me. It was a lot of memorization. So it depends on your strengths. Do you actually have an interest in biology or chemistry? And if that's no on one of those parts, then don't major in that, because it's going to be painful going to class. You're not going to be excited about it. You're going to feel like, oh, great, I'm dreading going to class. I don't even want to show up. I don't want to study for this. And already having that barrier there is not going to do anything for you there, with grades, and just, it's not going to be fun. And though, yes, I know I said before, not everything is going to be fun and entertaining. Some things will be boring. I, of course, want you at least to have an interest in what you're learning. So I would say pick the major that you have an interest in learning, and look into it, So you could always change your major later on, but starting off as just seeing, hey, I'm going to take a biology class, I'm going to take a chemistry class, and see what I prefer, what I'm stronger at. Yeah. So I hope that answers some people's questions there, just with what do I major in. Okay. And let's see. Anything else? How do you deal? Yeah, let me just see. How do you deal with failure? Yes, great question. How do you deal with failure in these science classes? Oh, I'm sorry, it happened. I actually had a professor ridicule me on not doing well in this class. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Well, one, that should never happen to you. And it's interesting. Like I laugh because I think of my own experience, and that hits home. I felt the same sort of way, and I had issues with the professor as well. I thought they hated me. I thought that they just didn't like me, and I'm like, I've never, like, this is like my first interaction with you. Why are you being so mean? Sometimes I just feel like, depending on the professor, now is a time that it could be like, this is my time of power, and I do have that, and sometimes I honestly do believe some professors maybe shouldn't be professors, maybe shouldn't be teaching. Sure, they're absolutely intelligent, but maybe not in the professor role. But I want you to think of it this way and focus one on what you actually want to do. Focus on your career, focus on the why, because you are going to get people that will unfortunately try to push you back, to try to kick you down. And this is a test of your own character and how you respond and how you decide to say, you know what? No. I'm going to try, whether or not you help me or not. I'm going to find other resources. If you're not someone that's going to influence anything and you're just going to discourage me, I'm out. One, I also recommend, if in the very beginning, and if there is a way for you to change the class with the professor, do so. I literally was in a biology class, and the teacher was going about saying how I'm not for everyone. They were walking around and strutting their stuff and saying, I'm not for everyone. And if you don't like me, then deal with it. And then they kicked a student. And I just was so ridiculously shocked. And I kid you not, I'm like, oh, they kicked a student. I'm not kidding. So this is ridiculous. I was sitting in class, and I kid you not, I think I was just hiding my response, and I'm like, the door's there. If I get up, she might try to kick me. So what I did was literally I think it was on my iPad, I changed. I dropped the class immediately when I was in there, and I switched to a different professor. So if you have the ability to switch, please do so, because I haven't shared that story in so long, so I'm cracking up. But if you have the ability to do so, then do it. Sometimes professors aren't for you. That's the reality. And then you do get some professors who are amazing and are really sweet. I've had those professors before. So that kind of took a tangent. But to answer your question, what did you say? I would have said my blood was purple and gotten a check if my professor. Yeah, right. Pay for my college, pay for my tuition. But no, it's all in your own perspective. So when you fail, when you do experience that failure, it hurts so much. I cried plenty of times, just ugly crying for sure. But it was me deciding that I wasn't gonna give up. I wasn't gonna change my major. I wasn't gonna quit. And it came from me seeing, if I were to quit right now, or if I were to want to change my major, or just not want to be, at the time, dentist, would I regret it? Would I truly, looking back, would I truly believe that I gave this my all? I gave this my 110% or whatever. Did I actually try absolutely everything to succeed? And if I said yes, really, really talking to yourself and searching and seeing, did I really do everything that I needed to do? Did I slack off or anything? Which is a really hard conversation to have with yourself. If you say yes and you feel that, okay, yeah, I did everything that I could, then you won't necessarily regret it. But personally, I didn't feel that way. I felt that, I could have studied harder. I could have, maybe gotten a lot of different things. I could have, I don't know, started a study group. I could have gone to office hours or something like that, a lot of different resources out there. I could have hired a tutor. I could have whatever, and once I made that kind of shift and I saw what habits do I currently have that I'm not proud of, that I don't want to share, and changing those habits and identifying them, that's a huge part of it. So as you guys know, I have, of course, so many resources for you guys available. I have a lot of playlists that I either recently made or currently have for you guys. So please check that out. And one more thing I'd say on that topic of failure is forgiving yourself. Because you feel like you let yourself down, you feel like a failure, you basically are, sometimes we can be our biggest bully, but by actually saying, like, I forgive myself, and sure, I'm not happy with the situation, I'm not happy with the outcome, but believing that you are capable and you are smart enough to keep going. Like, just that belief in yourself is going to take you so far. Having that confidence in yourself is going to take you so far. And something actually that I read in the book that I was talking about, in the book that I was talking about is, who do you want to be? Like, if you're someone who wants to be this studious person but doesn't study, like, okay, then you're not. It's like you have to see it as, I am. If you're saying I am studious, are your actions actually showing what you want to be? And same goes with, like, I want to be a doctor. Okay, would a doctor skip class? I hope not, I really hope not, especially if you're, like, oh, let me just check on a surgery real quick, okay, I missed that class, give me a second, like, that's something that you don't want to do. So just thinking in the mindset of the person that you want to be and you aspire to be, what would they do in that situation? And I can tell you, I do this still today. I'm an imperfect person. I didn't even say it correctly. So I'm someone who still has flaws and makes mistakes, and I'm learning so much about, my own self and how I learn still, but you constantly just have to see that, how can I keep improving what I've done already? And I want you to also see it this way, is if you feel like a failure at times, remind yourself on what you've already accomplished, on what you have already gone through. So, like, for everybody who's either just making it into college, you got into college, you finished high school, you successfully succeeded in that. Or for everybody who's going into maybe general chemistry 2 or Ochem, you passed all the prerequisites to get there. So that just shows that, yes, you do belong. It's these things that we need to remind ourselves that we are worthy, we are capable of doing it. Cool. Okay, let's see. Another question, or last question, let's see. Kimmy says, I start Chem 101 this semester, and I don't know how I feel about this whole online learning. Yeah. Do you have any tips on how to stay focused? Yes, great question. So, besides, like, changing your work environment, so not like studying in your bed, like, your mind is going to be really confused there and you're going to want to take a nap. So separating your study space from where where you sleep is super important, just psychologically. And I would even say, if you can, be in natural light, that is something that affects your environment. Having that is something that's going to wake you up. But besides the little typical things for environment changes, I would also say that remember your why. So I challenge you guys to write down why you actually want to do well in chemistry. What's your goal? Do you want to be a doctor? And don't just say, oh, I want to be a doctor. Like, actually get into the specifics there and say, I need to do well in chemistry because I want to be a doctor, because I really enjoy helping people, and, like, really get into the why, and start imagining that, and by doing that, and by really stating your why and repeating that over and over, seeing that on a constant, on a daily basis, that's going to make you want to keep studying and want to keep doing it, even on the hardest days when you just don't feel like doing it. So I would say having that motivation and continuing to find that motivation is important. Having a good support system is always something that I highly recommend. I can tell you that I'm very thankful for the friendships that I have. Every single one of my friends is educated and is inspiring, and I think that's something that if you surround yourself with those types of people that, hey, they're studying right now, they're focusing on this, I will too, like it's having that accountability. Maybe even a study group, that's something that you can do online now. Besides that, besides all of those little things, of course, I once again will say stay ahead. Like, really, I can't emphasize that enough, guys. You guys are given your syllabus, and that right there is your roadmap of what this class is going to look like. So I have everything, all the resources already available for you guys on either my channel or my my website, melissamaribel.com, where I do have like how-to guides, which are my chemistry notes, which are digital, or my flashcards. Like, I have so many resources for you guys that I've made to just make this so much easier and to just help you. So like maybe just starting off with that sort of routine. Like let's say if you're about to get into, I'm going to say the metric system, unit conversion, then I recommend checking out what it is before you actually have the lecture. So maybe click on one of my videos and just starting to get familiar with those terms and familiar with the steps. Once you see it in class, you're not going to be breaking your hand trying to write everything down. Instead, you're actually going to be following along and understanding what your professor's saying. And then after that, then taking a practice exam or doing practice problems. Like, putting this all together is really going to help you. And you don't have to study for 5 hours every single day for the rest of your life. That's not an undergrad, at least. That's not something that you need to do. I would honestly just say, like, even spending an hour a day would do wonders for your guys' education and for your grades. So I hope that answers that question there. And let me see. Anything else to wrap up? Something else I just wanted to let you guys know that I do have available. As I mentioned, I have a lot of resources that I've made. I have 2 different things that I wanted to talk about. So I have my free chemistry survival guide that is specifically for anyone taking general chemistry 1 or 2, or anyone in high school or AP chemistry. That guide is going to help you a lot with just knowing where all of your formulas are. So that's something that I personally wish I had again. It's just having these formula sheets, knowing that I don't have to flip through all my notes or flip through my book, and I just have everything already there for me. So I do have that is free, that is available for you guys. I also have a free organic chemistry survival guide with all of the different reactions for you guys, which is amazing. Again, I wish I had that when I was in school. So there's that. And then what else? I'd mentioned it multiple times. I'm going to mention it one more time, just that I do have a new playlist that I really recommend you guys checking out. Even if you're already solid with math, it's still something good to see what chemistry is going to look like, the math you'll use in chemistry. That's my new learning playlist that I just made, and that does come with practice problems on top of the 15 videos that I made. So it's like another 14 videos of, practice problems for you guys. So definitely check that out. And last thing I do want to say is with my resources as well, I do recommend getting all the resources you need now, early on, and already starting to spend time with the material and understanding it. So if you guys feel like, I don't know what resources are right for me, specifically what chemistry notes should I, purchase, then you can actually send me your syllabus and I will tell you. I will see what you actually need specifically for your class and personalize it for your class. So that's what I want you guys, if you feel like, I would really love your input on what notes are best for me. What should I buy? Well, I can tell you. I can be completely honest with you and tell you, you'll need either all of this or only 2 of these. That's something that I do offer for that. So just to let you know. So I can put the link right now, and I did. So that's what you can do as well after this. Other than that, goodness. Okay. Thank you, everyone who stayed on and asked questions. And I hope you guys learned something. And I hope you're motivated. I hope you're motivated to do well this semester. I want all of you guys to succeed. Really, truly, I do. And I know you can. You just got to put in a little work, right? But other than that, all of the resources are there. Good luck, guys. I know you can do this. Thank you for being here.